Gee, being a pyro is tough work. All of my enemies are staying just out of my flamethrower's range and I can't aim all that well with my flare gun. I wish there was a solution for this conundrum. Wait, haven't we had this conversation before? Anyway, what you need, young fella, is the shotgun. This secondary weapon packs a mean punch and makes it much easier to hit enemies just outside of your primary's range. Ah yes, the shotgun, a highly reliable secondary weapon for 4 of the 9 classes. Well, more like 3, seeing as how most heavies these days don't use them unless they're going for the funny meme strats. Well, actually it's more like 2 since the engineer uses it as primary and, well, you get what I mean. The shotgun is a great short to mid-range weapon that deals tons of damage for anyone unfortunate to get meat shot by one. As you can imagine, there are a ton of variations to the tried and true shotty, with some being exclusive to certain classes. For example, the family business is only usable by the heavy, and the engineer can only use the rescue ranger. I'm not here to talk about those though. Being a Pyro enthusiast, it should be fairly obvious that today I'll be going over all of the pyro shotguns just like I did with the flare guns in a previous video. So without further ado, let's begin. And there's no better place to start than with the very first shotgun, the stock shotgun. This is the default secondary weapon for the pyro alongside the heavy and soldier, as well as being the default primary for the engineer, and for good reason. This weapon shoots 10 pellets per shot, doing up to 90 damage at point blank range, allowing the pyro to 2-shot every class other than soldier and heavy. This is particularly good when you remember that pyro is a close range class, letting them utilize the shotgun very well. While being good at mid to close range, it has a high damage fall off which depends on distance. That being said, it's still a much better choice to engage enemies that are far away, especially if they're out the range of your flamethrower. In fact, that's pretty much its sole purpose. Again, being a close range class has its downsides, and the shotgun somewhat remedies this problem, albeit only with mid-range fights, as that is the most effective use for the weapon. You can use it for enemies further away, but at that point you might as well try and run towards them. No point trying to be a sniper when you can be a good flame boy. Oh, and you can do a Hadoken taunt kill when you taunt with this, and the other shotgun, so there's that too. Moving on to the next shotgun, we have the reserve shooter. This one is a bit of a weird one in my opinion, as when it was released in the Uber update on June 23rd, 2011, it was only for the soldier. It was never intended for the pyro at the start, which can be seen by its original stats and how broken the weapon became when pyro finally received it after, let me see, 4 months. That was way quicker than I expected. They added it to the pyro's arsenal on October 13th. They didn't really document this anywhere. They just did it. Weird choice, but okay. Anyway, let's get on to the actual weapon itself. At the cost of a minus 34% clip size, removing 2 shots from the 6-shot clip of the stock shotgun, the reserve shooter deploys 20% faster than stock, as well as dealing mini crits against targets launched airborne by explosions, grapple hooks, or rocket packs. The original stats had enemies affected by air blasts in there rather than the rocket packs, which shows how easy it was to deal massive damage as pyro, seeing as they can launch their enemies fairly easily as long as they don't have the flog. With the stats now, however, it's clear to see that it excels against those enemies who like to fly around, specifically soldiers and demomen, with the occasional pyro using the thermal thruster. Of course, pyros who reflect projectiles are sure to find some good use out of this weapon as well, as that also counts as launching them if they get hit into the air. In general, this is a somewhat better shotgun due to the fact that you can whip it out faster to deal quick damage. There isn't any kind of difference to the amount of damage the reserve shooter does compared to the stock shotgun, so when going against another pyro with stock or someone else with a shotgun, then you have the advantage of being greedo, aka shooting first. Really, the only downside is 2 less shots per clip, as this leaves less room for errors and misaimment from you. If you're using it with the effective range, however, then it shouldn't be too much of a deficit to a pyro. And like previously said, working alongside air blasts is a huge benefit. One particular primary, the degreaser, allows for an even faster deployment for the reserve shooter, allowing for a quick reflect on a grenade or rocket and then finishing them off with a clean shot. So really, when comparing it to stock, all you really need to ask yourself is if you want a faster and potentially more deadly shot, with the downside of less room for messing up, or a slower deploying shotgun but with more shots to deal more damage overall. It's really up to personal preference and playstyles, honestly. Last but certainly not least is my favourite shotgun variation, the Panic Attack. Released on December 22nd, 2014 as part of the Smithmas update of that year, the Panic Attack deploys 50% faster than stock, has 50% more bullets per shot, and every competitive player's wet dream, it fires in a fixed shot pattern. I can hear Banny screaming now. Anyway, it sounds good, right? Well, it deals 20% less damage as well as becoming less accurate after every successive shot, so there's that. Now I hear you saying, well, it deals less damage than the other two, so why bother with the Panic Attack? Well, due to having more bullets per shot, it does more damage up close compared to the others. In fact, compared to the stock and the reserve shooter, the Panic Attack deals a whopping 108 damage up close rather than 90. So even with the damage penalty active, it does the job of a close range shotgun much better than the other two. Of course, that's good and all with Pyro being a close range class anyway, but it really falters when it comes to shooting over and over again. As it says, the more you keep shooting continuously, the less likely you'll be able to hit your target. Obviously, it goes without saying that it really does matter that you use it when really close to your enemy rather than mid to long range combat. The 20% less damage stat comes into play here, especially since you'll likely be hitting around 2 to 4 damage at those ranges, which isn't particularly good. That being said, the fixed shot pattern makes it easy to predict your shots and help you to aim better with it. The other two shotguns have random spread, meaning no two will be the same. With the panic attack, however, your shots will hit in the same areas every other time you shoot. Of course, if you continuously shoot, then it will become less accurate and spread to ridiculous levels, though you shouldn't be holding down your attack button for too long to begin with. And again, just like the reserve shooter, the faster deployment gives you an edge in a fight with another shotgun wielding opponent. In fact, this is an even bigger advantage even against the reserve shooter, as it outspeeds that too. And like I've said in plenty of videos up to this point, combo with the degreaser and it has an insane deploy speed. This makes it greater for faster comboing between the two and lets you pick off low health enemies trying to escape much easier. Just like the flare guns, the Pyro hits a wide area of usage between the trio of shotguns at their disposal. Stock allows for consistency and good coverage against people dodging your flames. The reserve shooter does well against projectile based enemies as well as those who like to fly around and punishes them for that, or for projectile spamming soldiers or demos. And finally, the panic attack favours those who like to get close and deal massive damage quick in exchange for relying on it a little less compared to the other two. And just like the flare guns again, it would be interesting to see what concept they could come up with for a brand new shotgun. Mechanic wise, they aren't as diverse as flares from my perspective due to them being fairly close range hit scan weapons, though they managed to think of a few decent ideas for scouts, so maybe it isn't out of the realm of possibility. Like I said earlier, the panic attack is my shotgun of choice and I use the others far less. Unlike those, I really enjoy the massive burst of damage it does, and with Pyro being a close range class, it just makes sense in my opinion. Though that's just me, I'd like to see what you all think of the shotgun variety Pyro has. Maybe you like sticking to stock for consistency, maybe the reserve shooter for more comboing potential and punishment against enemies, or perhaps the panic attack for big damage up close. Whatever your choice, be sure to share them down below. And as always, this has been your Fem Pyro enthusiast BonOakley signing off. See you guys in the next one.
Hi there! Thanks ever so much for watching. Please consider watching them to see more of us, especially me.